Prejudice and Discrimination.
A psychological perspective. Introduction.
Prejudice and discrimination are powerful social forces that affect the lives of individuals and communities around the world. These concepts are closely related, often occurring together, but they are not the same. Prejudice refers to an unjustified or incorrect attitude, usually negative, towards an individual based solely on their membership in a social group. Discrimination, on the other hand, involves actions or behaviors that result from those prejudiced attitudes. Understanding prejudice and discrimination is essential in psychology because these behaviors impact mental health, social dynamics, education, and even economic outcomes. In this article, we will explore the definitions, theories, types, causes, and consequences of prejudice and discrimination. We will also look into methods of reducing these negative social phenomena. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive, easy-to-understand guide suitable for students, educators, and anyone interested in social psychology.
Theoretical foundations. Historical context.
The study of prejudice and discrimination in psychology gained momentum during and after World War II. Psychologists began examining how entire populations could be swayed to harbor hatred against particular groups. One of the seminal works during this time was Gordon Allport's The Nature of Prejudice, 1954, which remains a foundational text in understanding these issues.
Major psychological theories. Social identity theory, Tajfel-Turner.
This theory suggests that people derive part of their identity from the social groups they belong to. When individuals categorize themselves as part of a group, the Ingroup, they tend to view those outside the group, the Outgroup, less favorably. This in-group-outgroup distinction can lead to prejudice.
Realistic conflict theory, Sheriff.
According to this theory, prejudice arises from competition between groups for limited resources. For example, two communities might compete for jobs, leading to hostility and discriminatory attitudes.
Authoritarian personality, Adorno et al.
This theory focuses on personality traits that make a person more prone to prejudice. Individuals with authoritarian personalities often submit to authority, conform to societal norms, and are hostile towards outgroups.
Cognitive approaches.
Cognitive theories look at how mental shortcuts, schemas, and heuristics contribute to stereotyping. These shortcuts help us process information quickly, but often lead to oversimplified and inaccurate views of others.
Implicit bias theory.
People can hold prejudiced attitudes without being consciously aware of them. Implicit biases are automatic, unconscious associations that can influence behavior and decision-making.
Intersectionality, Crenshaw.
This framework examines how various forms of discrimination, e.g., racism, sexism, classism, intersect and create unique experiences for individuals. For example, a black woman may face both racial and gender discrimination in different contexts.
Types of prejudice and discrimination. Race and ethnicity.
Racial prejudice involves negative beliefs or feelings about people based on their racial background. This can manifest as racial profiling, hate crimes, or systemic inequality.
Gender and sexual orientation.
Gender prejudice includes sexist attitudes that suggest one gender is superior to another. Discrimination based on sexual orientation includes homophobia and the denial of rights to LGBTQ+ individuals.
Gender and sexual orientation.
Ageism involves prejudice against individuals because of their age. Older adults may be viewed as less competent, while younger people may be considered irresponsible.
Disability.
People with disabilities often face discrimination in employment, education, and social settings due to stereotypes about their abilities.
Religion and culture.
Religious and cultural discrimination occurs when people are treated unfairly because of their beliefs or cultural practices. This can lead to exclusion and violence.
Socioeconomic status.
Prejudice based on socio-economic status often results in the marginalization of poor individuals or communities, reinforcing cycles of poverty and limited access to resources.
Cognitive and affective components.
Psychologists divide attitudes into three components: cognitive, beliefs; affective, feelings; and behavioral, actions.
Stereotypes, cognitive.
These are generalized beliefs about members of a group. For example, believing all teenagers are rebellious is a stereotype.
Prejudice, affective.
This involves emotional responses toward a group such as fear, dislike, or anger.
Discrimination, behavioral.
These are actions taken based on prejudice, such as refusing to hire someone because of their race or gender.
Social and developmental factors. Socialization and family influence.
Children often adopt the prejudices of their parents and caregivers. The values and attitudes they observe at home can shape their perceptions of different social groups. Friends and peer groups can reinforce prejudiced beliefs through jokes, group norms, and pressure to conform.
Media representation.
Television, movies, and social media play a significant role in shaping perceptions. Stereotypical portrayals can reinforce harmful beliefs.
Educational systems.
Curricula that ignore diversity or present biased histories can contribute to ignorance and prejudice.
Developmental psychology perspective.
Research shows that children begin to notice racial differences at a young age. By the time they are in preschool, they may already exhibit biased attitudes.
Neuroscience and implicit bias. Brain regions.
The amygdala is associated with fear responses and may be activated when individuals encounter outgroup members. The prefrontal cortex is involved in regulating these responses and making thoughtful decisions.
Mirror neurons and empathy.
Mirror neurons allow us to experience others' emotions, fostering empathy. However, people often empathize more with in-group members. Developed by psychologists, the IAT measures unconscious associations between different concepts, such as race and positive or negative attributes.
Consequences of prejudice and discrimination. Individual level effects.
Financial mental health. Victims of prejudice often experience depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. Behavioral outcomes. These individuals may withdraw from social interactions or, conversely, act out aggressively.
Societal level effects.
Education. Discrimination can lead to unequal access to quality education. Employment. Prejudice can affect hiring practices and promotions. Unearned health care. Marginalized groups often receive lower quality care. Justice system. Racial profiling and unequal sentencing are common issues.
Interventions and reducing prejudice. Educational programs.
Teaching about diversity, inclusion, and empathy from a young age can reduce prejudice. Positive interaction between groups under certain conditions, equal status, common goals, can reduce prejudice.
Perspective-taking exercises.
Encouraging individuals to see the world from another person's point of view can increase empathy and reduce bias.
Cognitive restructuring.
This involves changing thought patterns and challenging stereotypes. Workshops and training sessions in workplaces and schools can raise awareness and promote inclusive behavior. Legal reforms and activism can bring systemic change. Examples include the civil rights movement, LGBTQ+ rights campaigns, and initiatives for indigenous rights.
Case studies and empirical research. Robbers Cave experiment, Sharif.
This study showed how intergroup conflict arises from competition and how cooperative goals can reduce hostility.
Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes exercise, Jane Elliott.
This classroom activity demonstrated how quickly children can adopt prejudiced attitudes and behaviors based on arbitrary groupings.
Harvard's Project Implicit.
This ongoing research explores implicit biases and provides tools for self-assessment.
Cultural and global perspectives. Cross-cultural differences.
Different cultures have different social norms and histories that influence prejudice. For example, caste-based discrimination in India differs from racial discrimination in the United States.
Effects of globalization.
Migration and cultural exchange can both increase understanding and create tensions.
Comparative analysis.
Studying how various countries tackle discrimination, e.g., affirmative action in the US, multicultural policies in Canada, can provide valuable insights.
Contemporary issues and trends. Online hate speech.
Social media can amplify prejudice through echo chambers and anonymity. AI systems can perpetuate existing biases if trained on prejudice data.
Post-COVID behavior changes.
The pandemic led to increased prejudice against certain groups, such as Asians being blamed for the virus's spread.
Conclusion.
Prejudice and discrimination are deeply embedded in human societies, but they are not inevitable. By understanding their roots and consequences, we can take steps to create a more inclusive and equitable world. Whether through education, policy, or personal reflection, everyone has a role to play in combating these social issues.
References. Suggested reading.
Allport, G.W., 1954. The Nature of Prejudice. Addison Wesley. Todgeful, H. Turner, J. C. 1979. An Integrative Theory of Intergroup Conflict.
Adorno, T.W., Frenkel Brunswick, E. Levinson, D.J., Sanford, R.N., 1950. The Authoritarian Personality. Crenshaw, K. 1989. Demarginalizing the Intersection of Race and Sex. Sharif, M. 1958. Superordinate Goals in the Reduction of Intergroup Conflict. Greenwald, A.G., McGee, D.E., Schwartz, J.L., 1998. Measuring Individual Differences in Implicit Cognition, the Implicit Association Test.